Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing a handful of college football games from Week 4 right now with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, who was 2-1 with us last week in college football and 7-2 against the spread overall in the 9 videos he did with us last week. Joe Duffy, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you for having me, Peter.
All right, LSU and Mississippi State is the game we're going to cover. Before we get to it, just tell folks a little bit about OffshoreInsiders.com in case they're finally ready to sign up.
Well, you used to call me, what, an OC, an old Kappa or something
original
like
Kappa.
That? Yes, whatever the heck it is. I've been around a long time, long before these inner tubes were invented. I was on the score phones. That's all I've done since graduating from college. My entire income has been betting games and picking games, and then I was also a score phone announcer, which was perfect synergy for being a sports handicapper. But this is all I've done. I mean, my entire adult life, this is all I've done for a living, and there is a reason why I've been able to thrive. 27 years in the business. Joe Duffy's Picks at OffshoreInsiders.com.
But, it was also a lot easier back then. I mean, back then, Wong teasers in the NFL were just free money. I mean, there was a lot more opportunity to, the books weren't nearly as sharp as they are today, right?
No, well, I have to disagree with you. I think that the information for those people who are willing to work hard enough and have the knowledge is actually stronger. It's easier to find. Back then, we used to actually have to send fax notes from each other. You had a network of people, and we'd all send each other notes from the local newspapers. Now, it's right at your fingertips. So I do think the gap between the Joey Bag of Donuts and the odds makers is bigger, but I do think that the sharp player, if they are willing to work their tails off, can get the information. It's available.
Well, we'll see what you can tell us about Mississippi State, LSU. LSU is a 10-point favorite. Total is 50, and LSU is looking pretty good this year, right? 3-0 against the spread so far. Mississippi State is looking like a pretty good version of Mississippi State. Their quarterback, Dak Prescott, has done well this year, although it hasn't been against top defenses. They also have a bunch of returning starters from a team that wasn't that great, but nevertheless returning starters. Last year, LSU was tended to be an overtrender. Their weakness was actually their defense was actually a weakness last year, which is a little unusual for LSU. I'm looking at this LSU minus 10 and 50. I think we got to lean LSU minus 10 and to the over here. Mississippi State is just not, historically, they just don't come within 10 points of LSU ever. And is this year going to be any different? It's a pretty decent Mississippi State team, but I don't see anything terribly special that would lead me to believe that they're going to cover here. What do you think about that, Joe Duffy?
No, I haven't really have a strong opinion on the total because it is about what I expected. But as far as the side, LSU has really gone back to their roots where they're more of a smash mouth team and points are going to be tougher to come by. If anything, I might lean a little bit towards the under, but I don't think that LSU, they're going to be a team as they've been in previous years. They weren't really so much last year where they had a more of a wide open offense, but where LSU can maybe dominate a team in play a little bit more than they can on the scoreboard. Mississippi State, they do have the better quarterback. You're right, that Dak Prescott, you can't base it purely on this year's stats because this is far and away his biggest test, but they are the team with the much better quarterback. LSU certainly has some question marks. Anthony Jennings hasn't been that impressive. I mean, he's not all that bad, but he's probably on the lower echelon of quarterbacks in the SEC. An interesting schedule dichotomy here, and here is why I always like to test my theory. I said I like to use the scientific theory. I come up with a theory and then try to disprove it. Now, LSU, they are playing their third straight home game, and Mississippi State's playing their second straight road game. You would think that's a huge advantage for LSU, correct? Well, not necessarily. I looked it up. In a circumstance like that, if the road team is getting 7 or more, they've actually covered at a 175, 149, and 5 rate. Now, again, that's not fantastic, but it is a winning at 54%. But that does tell me that the scheduling dynamic shouldn't scare us off at all. Now, I will say as a counter note, in a situation like that, when they're not getting 7 or more, it's a 60.6% go against, and it does apply this week. We're still looking at that game, so visit us at offshoreinsiders.com. But now, all in all, I do think that this game is going to be close, even though Mississippi State could be road weary, and LSU is playing a little bit at home. But as I said, historically, bigger dogs under these circumstances do pretty well. And Mississippi State is the team with the better quarterback and getting double digits. I think that, LSU, they have that reputation, but I think they're a little bit overvalued here. LSU wins, but they do not cover.
All right, well, I mean, in recent years, LSU routinely beats Mississippi State by double digits. So you think that this year is going to be different in terms of the matchup?
This is one of Mississippi State's better teams. It's not to say that it's a down year for Les Miles and company, but LSU, they've been a national championship contender. They're at best a dark horse contender. Obviously, they're a good team in the SEC, so they're at least a contender for the national title, but they're not as dominant as they have been in previous years. So, no, there have been some big mismatches on paper, but no, this year it's not quite the mismatch, and Mississippi State's going to take this one down to the wire.
All right, Joe Duffy leaning Mississippi State plus 10 against LSU. Thanks so much, Joe.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.